I just meant that I was going to run. So if you guys need the 5 and you counted it and you're counting, that's good.
I started
I'm
recording.
glad we can start anytime you want, Madam President.
All right.
President accounted for.
Okay, let me see who else is not there.
Started to record, but we can edit off the front end of it.
Okay, so yeah, I think you can get started because I see everyone there now. Here, shall I say. All right then. We'll commence the city council meeting. And I guess we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I have to get used to this doing it from home. I pledge the allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of
of
America,
America and to the
and to the
republic
republic for which
for
it
which it
stands,
stands, one
one
nation,
nation, under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty
and justice
and
for all.
justice for all. Thank you. So I'm thinking if we keep on going, this might go on for a year. If we don't say the Pledge of Allegiance for a year or two, I think I might forget it.
Oh, don't do that.
You know, you just get out of the habit of doing things.
Are you
Roll
keeping
call.
the agenda on screen? Are you going to keep sharing that?
Oh, that's a good question. Now that one I have to find. See, while I was running around, I should have found that agenda. Patsy can put her agenda. Can you, Patsy, put it on this? Can you share it?
I think so. Hold on.
Do you have yours? Do you have your copy available yet?
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's-
so if you don't mind,
let's-
can you? I'll unshare. I'll,
Committee of the whole?
pardon me. No, I stopped sharing. I forgot. So we just need somebody to share their version. For me, it'll be trying to figure out where the version of it is at.
Well, my agenda is like 4 pages long though, so I don't know how that works as far as sharing each page or, you know.
Well, you will just scroll up on your screen. Scroll whatever you have. With you have a mouse or however you scroll your document.
All right, let me.
Otherwise, I can look for this. So you know what? As a matter of fact, I'll get it up there. I'll find it and then I'll scroll up. So what we'll do, we'll have time. Do we do the roll call and then I will find the agenda somewhere along this?
Yep, let me do the roll call first, and
And I'll look for it. I'll look for it too.
Alexander,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Lentine,
Here?
Lewis,
Yes.
Nelson,
Here?
Thomas,
Yes.
Ursu.
yes.
Okay. Entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
before we do the consent agenda, can I ask for amendment for a documentation? Is
Yes.
this-
Explain, please.
Okay, explain. I was looking through minutes from May 12th, and I see there were letters from everyone, but there was one missing. Can we get the one that was missing? I think the 5th letter. I
Nelson,
didn't see a copy of that. Can we get that amended to add to our May 12th minutes?
Mark, can you get me a copy of Nelson's letter?
Yeah, we can forward it.
Okay, as soon as I get that, I will add that to the minutes. I just haven't gotten that letter yet.
Thank you.
Okay. So, how are we gonna handle that now? We got that much.
Okay.
So are we gonna do a roll call on that or what?
We need motions here.
Okay, want a motion with the amendment?
Yep.
Then I'll make the motion to amend the letter, the 5th letter.
Second your motion.
Okay, Alexander,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Lentine,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes?
Thomas,
Yes.
Ursu.
Yes.
Okay. We will move to the reports. Mayor, do you have a report?
Not this evening. I'll happy to answer any questions or comment as we go along. Thank you.
Okay. Who is next? Chief Newman, do you have a report?
Yeah, thank you, Council President Henry, Mayor Roche, members of council, and members of our community that are watching in this evening. Just one item. Our firefighters are going to begin testing the fire hydrants on Monday, June 1st. Division of Fire conducts the annual flow test inspections to ensure that the hydrants we depend upon to extinguish fires are working properly and provide an adequate water supply. Testing includes lubrication, flushing, and checking for working condition and flows. Hydrant testing is performed by on-duty firefighters. Fire hydrants that are in need of repair are identified and repairs are reported to Cleveland Division of Water. Should you notice fire personnel checking hydrants in your area, be assured our intentions are not to waste water or destroy property. We are working to ensure your safety. Should you notice a hydrant in need of repair, please call the Division of Fire or the Service Department, or Cleveland Water so repairs can be initiated. Also, we flow test them in a manner as not to generate rust. We're very gentle because we know the sensitive condition of the water mains running through the city of Richmond Heights. So our firefighters are very cognizant of that. We do post signs out the night before we test, and we only test Monday through Thursday. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, I have none. Thank you. Police Chief Wetzel?
Good evening, everyone. I had just 4 quick items I wanted to go over. Right now, we're all healthy at the police department. Special thanks to Chief Newman for all the PPE he continues to get us. Just recently, he got us a large amount, which we have available to all our personnel. I just wanted to give a quick shout out of gratitude to Colonel Carl Carter, who just yesterday donated a POW flag for our flagpole at the police department. Colonel Carter's been very supportive of us. You know, for those that aren't aware, he's actually served in 4 wars, and yesterday he was one of our keynote speakers at our city memorial for Memorial Day. And he also recently read to our city school children via our Facebook program. Just continuing on our school outreach effort, it continues. We are started back up our Tip Our Badge so we could get the remaining children who've shown academic excellence throughout the year. Instead of seeing them at school, as we've done in the past, we're actually driving out to their homes where their parents are there and providing the certificate and some of the gifts we had. And I just want to tell you, the last couple I had, it was some of the most excited moms I've ever seen. They were so thrilled by this, and they were like big engagements. A lot of people came over to watch this, so it was really special, and I feel great about that program. Also, tomorrow we'll be leading the way for the school parade. For those that are not aware, from 4 to 6 p.m., we're going to have a little parade with about 5 school buses and different cars. You're welcome to join us. It starts around 3:30. We're meeting at the mall by the Sears lot, and then we are going to drive through. They've got a whole thing, Phil Stevens, the operations manager, put together. And what they're trying to do is go past all the homes of school seniors, you know, just to honk the horn and wish them well. So we'll have some cars in that, and I'll be probably attending as well in a cruiser, just to assist. And then just in closing, I want to let you know with our gun safety campaign, we are continuing that in earnest. We've got some videos we're going to be putting together, but I wanted to share a good example of just why that recent legislation that you passed was so important. Although it wasn't applicable to this case, just a few weeks prior to you passing it on May 12th, we actually had a gentleman on Carl who was washing his car and for whatever reason put his handgun on top of his car. Well, his brother got in the car and drove away with the gun on the car, and it dumped off and landed on a sidewalk on Carl and Highland, you know, available to anybody that would walk by. So it took us a while to investigate and figure out who the gun actually belonged to, but we eventually were able to. But if we had that ordinance, we would have certainly cited them, because that's serious business, you know, and that's exactly kind of a good example, I thought, for you of why that was so important, that legislation. But again, we're really trying to make this an educational thing with youth. You know, educational outreach. We're going to be putting some videos together, and we're giving away free gun locks. And so that's just all part of that process, but I want to thank you again for that. And that concludes my report.
Wow, thank you. I'm glad no one got killed as a result of that one. Or hurt. Building Commissioner Jim Uranker. Is Jim here today?
He was off today, Madam President.
Okay, thank you, because I did not remember seeing him. Okay, Finance Director Jim Technic, you're here. Thank you.
Yes, I am. Thanks, Council President Henry. Two items are on the agenda this evening for housekeeping. The first one is Ordinance 50-2020. It's an ordinance that we do twice a year. This is the first one of the year for interfund transfers. Again, it was Ordinance 50-2020. And the second ordinance is 52-2020. It's a ordinance which establishes a new special revenue fund, and it's going to be designated as School Safety Training Fund. Again, this was discussed during the Council of the Whole. And finally, Ohio Municipal League is encouraging all of its members, including the city here, to contact the Ohio House and urge them to quickly pass the Senate Bill 310. We discussed it briefly during the Finance Committee meeting. And this is for critical federal COVID-19 aid that can be distributed to cities and villages throughout all of Ohio. So I urge anybody that can. And Ohio Municipal League's had a few good articles on it too. So if you can dig those out of your email, they're very beneficial to read. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Isn't this the article that's been a lot of controversy that is just sitting still? Is this the same thing?
This is the article or the Senate Bill 310.
Yeah.
Which was approved by the Senate and now it's moving through the House, hopefully quickly.
But I thought it wasn't moving so quickly. It's what I think I've been hearing complaints of. All right.
Yeah, I think there's been some requests if you want to call your representative and state your desires to have this bill move along. You should do that next week.
You know, our rep knows already.
Yes.
Our rep is on the job, so yes. I think I talked to him, as a matter of fact, about 2 or 3 weeks ago when he was telling me about things going on there. Recreation Director Rick Dula. Is Rick on vacation too? Rick, no, I see Rick D. So is that him? Okay, he's unmuted.
Thank you, Council. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I forgot to unmute, sorry. Thank you, Council President Henry, Mayor Roach, members of council, and community people viewing tonight. Just one quick item, 2 quick items. One, I hope everybody was out recreating this past weekend in the beautiful weather we had. It seems to be rare that we have a holiday weekend and nice weather hand in hand, and we did have a nice one. Actually got a little hot out there, so heard someone complain about it. I told them to be quiet. They couldn't do that. We've been waiting for this for a long. The other item I have is just to let everybody know that the South Eagle Inter Soccer Club that we are part of has officially canceled their spring soccer program and are issuing full refunds. And now that we're going to be talking with them about possibility of what we can do and when for the fall soccer program. We're still waiting from the state and the governor for some guidelines for the sport of soccer, both at the at the high school level and at the recreational level. So hopefully they'll come up with something in the not so distant future that we can sink our teeth into and make some plans. But that is the only item I have to report on tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I have one. My question is some of these things about like these programs, waiting to see what the state is going to say, it's almost like if the state hasn't said we have a vaccine or we have a solution or the virus has disappeared, I think it's almost like we have to make some decisions where we're not going to participate. So we're waiting for them to tell us no. I think I keep saying
currently,
this every time.
Using the example of soccer, I mean, they have said that you can't play soccer currently. So we're waiting to see if they loosen that up and, create something that will allow us to, do something like baseball and softball. They've come up with guidelines, and it's very, very restrictive guidelines, but they've come up with guidelines on how people can proceed at the adult softball level, the youth baseball and softball levels. And many communities have chosen, decided not to proceed with their program or to let out their fields for these programs because of the just large amount of restrictions, the costs that go along with those restrictions, making things very cost prohibitive.
Right.
As the state says we can do it, doesn't mean we necessarily maybe, would want to do that. The other example was last Thursday, the governor said wedding receptions, are okay now with the guidelines. So people just see the sensational, hey, you can have a wedding reception now of up to 300 people. They don't get to read the fine print that you and I and Don Chernisky and the mayor and everybody else that, follows this a little more closely, all the different restrictions. Councilman Lentin alluded to 43 different restrictions that he has to follow prior to COVID-19, issues. So it's, see the sensational, hey, you can open again, you can have events, wedding receptions, but for the city like us to do that, we have to look at those closely and, figure out if it's worth the additional costs and such to make those opportunities available to more people. I don't know if that addresses what your concern or your question, rather.
I guess my biggest concern is the risk. The risk if we do make these opportunities available. So I just sort of feel like this year is a year of a great loss. If you talk about providing recreational activities, because if they get sick, they're coming back home, and we're going to have to deal with, which will be good for University Hospital if they get sick. But I guess that's the other good side of it, huh?
Yeah, we're trying to err on the caution side right at the moment. And I just mentioned Rick has been working with a lot of the rec areas around the area, rec departments. I've been in contact with Northeast Ohio and the Cuyahoga County mayors and managers. We have another meeting in a couple of days. We're trying to coordinate amongst ourselves also to try to come up with different initiatives and things. So we're working through that. It's not that we're not discussing, and it's not that we're fully dependent on the state. There's also we've been in contact with our local Board of Health. They are the primary contacts for us to try to go forth. And so we're working through it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
Madam President?
Yes,
May I ask a question of our rec director, please?
you sure can.
Rick, any update on area pools, swimming pools?
As far as for us being able to, our residents, if they are interested, Euclid has not made that decision yet. And they have not, if they have not communicated with me. I've been gone since Friday. I was off, and then half a day today as well. So I have not heard anything back from Max Stevens, their rec director. I will try to contact him tomorrow.
Yeah, most of the other, I don't know if you had a chance to follow that, Dan. Most of the other cities have closed their pools. So South Euclid, Lyndhurst, University Heights.
Highland Heights made a decision also?
Yes, I believe so.
And then what about the spray ground in Lyndhurst? Do we know anything about that? In other words, I mean, so it's going to get, obviously it was hot over the weekend. I could see kids, wanting, if they know a pool is open or a spray ground somewhere, maybe they want to pay, the out of community fee to spend a hot day cooling off, especially if Lyndhurst has the Brainerd Road spray ground going, for instance.
Yeah, Lyndhurst has closed their facilities for the summer as well.
The spray ground
Euclid's
too?
our only hope.
spray ground is closed as well?
Yes.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah, actually, spray grounds are probably more of a problem than a pool, because your kids have a tendency to get a little closer to each other, playing around the different features. So pools are probably a little easier to manage than spray grounds typically for most of the features.
Yeah. Got it.
And then the other point is, if if the availability is limited to residents, they're not really. I don't think too many communities are going to want additional non-residents to cut in the time, because they may be doling out. The Smith family may have from 9 to 11, on Mondays, and the Joneses are from 11 to 1 on Mondays, and they're looking at doling out times. Everybody gets an hour or 2 hour slot once a week or something like that, depending on the popularity of the pool. So I'm not sure they have, might have a whole lot of space for non-residents, but again, Euclid's our best and closest shot at this point, and hopefully something may happen for those who are interested in, looking at that.
So Beechwood's fabulous facility is going to be shut also all summer?
Yep.
Wow.
Shaker Heights just closed the other day. Cleveland Heights has been closed. Yeah, it's just very restrictive, the guidelines. It's so many people per square footage of deck space and pool space. That includes staff. And I understand the restrictions, but it just, saying that the pools are open is kind of like, well, it's kind of getting people excited, the wrong way.
Yeah.
They're teasing them.
Really open.
Yeah, your pool can be open, but there's only 6 people that can be there at a time. That makes it a little difficult, especially when the costs, the monies aren't coming in. Not that pools are a moneymaker in northeastern Ohio with our short season as it is.
People be putting up their sprinklers in their yards.
You can see a lot of sprinklers. Yes, they will be. The lawns will be green this year.
That's what we used to do, and when we never had a pool in my house, you used the sprinkler.
And either,
yeah,
Council President. Oh, we had sprinklers.
Yeah,
those
pools are a luxury.
Yep.
Get a slip and slide, put it in your backyard.
Exactly, and with COVID, all you want is a sprinkler.
Thank you, Madam President.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you guys off. Yeah, but it's like, I think the sprinkler is safer than a pool right now, unless you have your own pool.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the way you get your own pool. Maybe people buy their own pools this year then. So we'll move on to Economic Development Director, Brian Glaser.
Thank you, Council President Henry, Mayor Roach, members of council, and members of the community. Just one quick update. We did receive notice from the Cuyahoga County Planning Commission that they will now be accepting applications for the annual county planning grant. And that proposal will be due June 30th. And so we'll be bringing back our proposal to committees for review and approval. So we're aiming at the June 30th deadline. And this is to do planning in the community. Last year we submitted a request to do trailways and bike path planning, which for some reason we didn't receive, even though it was in our master plan that the county had produced. So we'll be looking at a couple of different things this year, but we'll be bringing those back to committee for your review. And that completes my report for this evening.
Thank you. Well, lately it seems that we can use the streets more for our bike path because the streets are freer.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what the county is counting on, you know?
Yeah, there are silver linings in this pandemic, and we're all getting used to the reduced traffic, but
yeah,
right.
Yeah. They said bike sales were up, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like that part about it though, because now this is the first time since I was a teenager that I thought it was safe enough to ride my bike in the street and then have to feel like I was gonna get run over before I got home. This year.
Did you say how long ago that was?
Did I say it? How long ago? I don't think I did. I
Well,
said,
you said when you were a child. I was just curious.
yeah, right. When I was, yeah, I'll leave it there.
How long? How long ago?
I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there.
All right.
All right, that completes my report.
Thank you very much. We will go on to the city engineer, Lee Courtney.
Just one item, Madam Chairman, with respect to the Mariswood subdivision, Phase 2. The developer has finished the grading around the back cul-de-sac, including the area around the sidewalk that connects it to Edgewood. And the last home built by Ryan Holmes has now been sodded. So that is just about a wrap on the whole development.
Really? But it looks like it had 2 or 3 empty spots over there. They're not going to put anything in them?
No, those are common areas which are part of the cluster development.
Oh, nice. Well, good. Oh, that's great, shall I say. It doesn't look, are they going to do something? Because it doesn't look very nice, those common areas. One of them doesn't, and one of them looks like, I don't know, it's sort of choppy.
Well, where they didn't disturb them, they pretty much left them natural.
Yeah, it looks pretty natural.
That's particularly obvious right where the mail pickup is. But given that it's a fairly thick growth and their neighbor to the north is the proposed redevelopment of the mall, that may be a blessing.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, otherwise, that development is wonderful, and the neighbors are really, really pleasant. So they've been really good. They walk through our area, and when I walk through their area, they all think they know me. Everybody waves like they've known me, and I'm thinking, they must have me mixed up with somebody else. So, but it happens every time I walk through there. But then I notice when they walk down my street, they're very pleasant, and they speak also. So I just think they're just a bunch of nice people who moved over there.
I know what you mean, because with this whole situation with the virus, I've met more of my neighbors than I knew existed.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Same here lately, because I didn't know a lot of folks lately either from different directions here. So we will move on to our Service Director, Donald Kerniski.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a few things to discuss tonight. The Service Department guys finished remodeling the whole kitchen over at the lodge, and you can go over there and check it out at any time. The next project that they're going to take on is they're going to run electrical to the pavilion at the main park. We're going to have electrical hookup so people can put in crock pots and cookers and coffee makers for when they do rentals in the future. That'll be the next project they're going to take on. The other thing I'd like to give you information on is the tall grass. Last week I sent out, my secretary sent out 10 notices that we are going to give 72 hours to 10 different locations, either cut their grass or we will be cutting it. Out of those 10, I would say 5 are probably going to be the only ones that we'll be doing, because those 5 houses are either abandoned, or the residents are living out of state, or the family members have died and a younger family member or relation has custody of the house, but they're not really going to do anything about it. So those will be the ones that we'll be doing on a regular basis this year. Two out of those 5 were the same ones we did last year as well. So it's kind of like we're used to that. But today, I went around after the holiday weekend thinking that everybody would get their grass cut. Not so. I passed out 52 grass cutting notices today.
I bet.
Madam President, question to Don.
Yes.
Don, Councilman Lentine, is the old La Fiesta restaurant property on that list?
Yes, Deal Point, I talked to Neil out in California for Deal Point. He hired Tucker Landscaping He's got 3 different contracts with Mr. Tucker to cover the whole perimeter of the mall, and also all the islands and grassy areas within the perimeter of the mall. Mr. Tucker had as to all the landscapers in the city, because mostly the grass cutting notices that I passed out, I talked to a lot of residents. They had landscapers for hire, and the landscapers are running way behind for them, and they've been trying to get other landscapers to come in, and they can't even get anybody to call them back. So I know Mr. Tucker's behind. I talked to him personally on Thursday, and I asked him this morning to get it cut this week. I'm really serious about getting that done. If I have to, I'll call Neil out in California, but I think Mr. Tucker will start taking care of it either tomorrow or the next day.
That's good news to hear about a Deal Point taking on the responsibility around the entire mall, but especially on Wilson Mills. That's almost like the heart of our city from outside communities, and it doesn't look very well. Thank you for your effort. Thank you for your efforts.
That. Yeah, I've been following up on it.
President?
We're doing pretty good with that.
Thank you.
Yes.
May I make a quick comment, Madam President?
Yes.
When I was coming in tonight for the meeting, Tucker was working on the Richmond Road side of the mall, cutting grass and weed whacking as I drove by this evening. So they're out there working on it already.
Okay, so when you talk about the weed whacking part, because I noticed that there are a lot of weeds up in the shrubbery area. So does that mean they cover that? They do their grass cutting as well?
Yes, they got everything.
Okay.
I had to adjust some of the information and how I wanted it done with the Deal Point. And as we talked it out, and then I talked to Mr. Tucker how I wanted him to quote to Deal Point, how it was going to be. He's going to do everything, all the way down by your house, the wall along the road there by the show, all the way around. Everything is supposed to be cut.
Okay, but also like close to the building, some of those weeds are 1 foot high right now. You know, like the mall property, you know how they have shrubberies, and I don't know what they used to have there, but they have a bunch of weeds stand with the shrubbery up in close to the mall now. The landscaping now consists of weeds and trees or bushes, you know. So that part also needs to be done. I don't know if it's usually done. I guess that's my question.
Well, I know it's going to take him longer than what he did today. So I'll be there tomorrow talking to them, and we'll go through step by step with the actual gentlemen that are actually cutting everything over there. Mr. Tucker doesn't do it himself, but he's got a crew. And I had contact with them last year and a good relationship. So we'll continue that this year.
Okay, because you know, like landscaping versus grass cutting, 2 different things. And so that's why I'm looking at the landscaping perspective. Landscaping over there looks bad, including in front of the Cube Smart. That landscaping is gone. And I'm wondering too, what are we going to do about all those geese? Did you notice the amount of feces all up around that the Cube Smart and the gym area? That's their home. They have loads of it there. So I'm just wondering, is it like health? I mean, health-wise, does it impact people's health if they open that gym and they're walking in that crap, going into the door, coming out of the door? It's so much. But not only that, when I walked in that area, I didn't realize they had some eggs laying there. They decided they wanted to attack me. So I learned a lesson: don't walk on the sidewalk up there at that area. Those geese, they were ducks, whatever. I don't know what the heck those things are, but they're
Canadian geese. Yep.
Yeah, they're mean as well. They're mean, protective, and they're pooping all over the place. So, but I'm wondering, health-wise, is it a problem? I know I don't want to walk around in it.
Well, I had a lot of experience with that over in Wycliffe because we had Colby Park there, and Colby Park was used for weddings pictures all the time. And it got to a point where the geese feces was covering everywhere that they wanted to go, on the bridge over the pond and over by the wedding gardens and stuff. And really there's a couple things you can't disrupt the ducks once they've laid their eggs. It's against the law. They're protected. But you can disrupt them before they start nesting. And we spent thousands and thousands of dollars trying all kinds of things, noise, placards of coyotes and things like that. They're smart, they figure everything out. The only thing that works is dogs. I had to hire a lady 3 years in a row. She had 2 collies that would go around and they would disrupt the geese before they could even start nesting. And then what they did was they ended up coming over here to Richmond Heights back then when I was at Wycliffe, because I got calls from Richmond Heights. But only way you can get them is ducks. You can disrupt them, and you have to have somebody that's trained and licensed to do that. So as far as a health issue, I don't think there's a health issue, because the whole situation was going on at Wycliffe for like 25 years. And I don't think anybody ever claimed that they were sick from stepping in it. It's not nice. I grant you that. But,
Don, not to interrupt you. Don, not to interrupt you, but I knew Father Grandillo, who is the priest in charge of all the Catholic cemeteries, and that was a major, major problem. And the only thing that did work was those border collies. You're absolutely correct on that. It's a problem all over.
I know I'm correct, Frank. That's why I'm the service director.
So are they coming? Do we have more of them? I'm sorry. Do we have more geese now because nobody's coming over to the mall, you think? Because they're
yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, okay. If they're not disturbed, they'll go wherever there's least amount of disruption for them. Also, I want to go back to what you said about the grass cutting around the mall and areas and stuff. They should be taking care of all of that. As far as they're concerned, when I talk to them, every bit of grass is going to be their responsibility. And you know what? I have to give them credit for one thing. Most of that grass is Mr. Cohen's. It's not
Oh yeah, 90% of it. But I noticed that at this point, everybody's stuff looks bad. But all that, not only that, throughout the city, people's grass is taller than normal. But so I can deal with the taller thing. But it's those weeds are the other problem, because I think people are going to get to the grass. The weeds. You remember last year, I was walking past that mall and I thought the weeds were flowers, but they were like about 5 feet high right on Richmond Road. And I was walking, did I realize when I drive by, I thought it was like a white flower, but it was a patch of weeds 5 feet high. So that's the thing. The weeds, they get so out of control.
Council president, 5 feet high. Really?
Yeah, I'm not kidding you. I am not kidding you. I called, who did I call? Well, I think I told Jim about it. So, but he must have told you about it, because I get you guys mixed up who should be handling it. Yeah, they were. You can ask Jimmy Ranker. 5 feet high weeds were up there on Richmond Road. I was driving by there, I would have never noticed it because I thought they were flowers until I was walking, and I was looking really close and I realized these are weeds that tall. I'm not kidding you. A drive-by is different from when you do a walk-by, especially a walk-by when you look. So,
Madam President, Don, is Deal Point also going to take care of La Fiesta?
Everything, all the way around the mall, from the beginning by the churches on Richmond Road, all the way around to the bank.
Wow, great. Okay.
On Wilson Mills.
Very good.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you.
I have nothing else.
All right. I'm sorry. Well, thank you so much. We will go, I guess, I just have to try to figure out where this thing goes from here. Because I think people told me last week, this is the time where the audience part comes in, or the part where they read those statements. So,
okay,
please proceed with that.
I received four different letters, statements during this week to read on various topics. So the first one I'm going to read is from a gentleman named William H. Cornhuff III. There is no address, but this is, and it's a very short statement. It says, Dear Ms. Traben, please be advised that I am not in favor of the Bell Oaks project proposed for the Richmond Town Square property. Sincerely, William H. Cornhuff III. Just very simple statement there. And he just wanted to have that distributed to everybody. The next is from a gentleman named Michael Fleming. And again, no address here, but he had comments about the NCA. The Richmond Heights City Council has a tough, important decision to make regarding Deal Point's request for an NCA. If you do approve it, the citizens of Richmond Heights could face unforeseen school tax issues down the road. And if you don't approve it, the city could possibly lose the Bell Oaks project and have a difficult time developing the mall site under the current financial climate. I would like to remind you that the initial proposal by Deal Point did not call for any tax abatements, so I would think that at a minimum, the city of Richmond Heights and Richmond Heights schools should resolve all tax sharing issues of current and future income taxes related to the Bell Oaks project, its tenants and residents. I think the last thing residents would want to see is increased school taxes as a result of the Bell Oaks project. And that was sent to me on Friday. This is a memorandum from Dr. Renee Willis, superintendent of the schools, and it's regarding a football update for the schools. The Richmond Heights local schools would like to inform its local municipality that a decision was made last week to take a hiatus from interscholastic football with the Chagrin Valley Conference, CVC. Hard times require hard decisions. Last week, we had to declare our intentions relative to the upcoming fall season. There were several factors that had to be weighed in making this decision. As superintendent, I would like to ensure that all facts are known so that no one has to operate in ignorance or form opinions without having these facts. The decision to forego fall football and pick up cross-country track instead was based on the following facts. Number one, the district was just beginning to search for a head football coach since our previous coach took another coaching position when schools were shut down by the governor in March. That made it impossible to recruit players and keep the program intact virtually since there was no head coach on board and no students on campus. Number two, the high school had approximately 15 players that expressed interest in football, which would not have been an optimal situation given the fact that we would have to play powerhouses like state champions, Kirtland, that are members of the CVC. Number three, the high school is not able to utilize its football field due to construction and will not be able to use it until fall 2021. Last season was extremely hard for the football team as they had no home games. And if we had continued our program this year, we would have had another season of no home games. Number four, the 2-year hiatus is a rule of the Chagrin Valley Conference. We were just seeking a 1-year absence, but now must adhere to the league rule of a 2-year absence. Number five, due to COVID-19, no student athletes were allowed on school campuses until today, May 26th, as ordered by the Ohio High School Athletic Association. Even if we did have football, there would be no place for the team to condition as the gym and weight room have been demolished. Number six, the district still plans to remain connected to Pop Warner Football League in Richmond Heights so that interested boys can continue to participate in football until we are able to return to interscholastic competition in 2022. Number seven, this fall, our student athletes will be able to participate in cross-country track and volleyball. Number eight, our winter basketball season will remain intact with the hopes of returning to Columbus once again to compete for a state championship. It is our sincere hope that everyone will continue to support the student athletes of Richmond Heights. That is her statement. And then our last statement is from Patricia Ackerman regarding Resolution 54, 2020, the Bell Oaks NCA. After nearly 2 years of planning, redesigning, presentations, zoning revisions, architectural reviews, blight studies, legal disputes, tax abatement legislation, and a public hearing, the Bell Oaks project is hardly ready to proceed. First, critical questions arose during the May 12th, 2020 hearing that remain unanswered. Specifically, why did Steel Point choose Richmond Heights as its first venture involving an NCA? Has council completed its due diligence? Hey, somebody's noisy. Can you guys mute yourselves, please? Thanks. Has council completed its due diligence regarding NCAs by contacting other communities where they have been implemented to a certain advantages and disadvantages? If not, when will council do so? Only one RH council member acknowledged making any effort to contact other NCA communities prior to the hearing. Second, the NCA presentation given during the hearing was not only misleading, but paid short shrift to several crucial facts. Specifically, the presenter from Bricker and Eckler failed to share the preferred funding mechanism to be implemented, namely the TIF, tax increment financing, or 15-year property tax abatement that the NCA would be taxed with authorizing. More importantly, the presenter did not communicate the negative impact that a TIF could have on both Richmond Heights and South Euclid school districts. Given the CRA passed by City Council in December 2019, the RH schools are now facing 15 years of property tax abatement. If the NCA is enacted, 15 additional tax abated years via a TIF would be added to the school district's reality. Together, the CRA and the TIF create a 30-year tax abatement reality for the schools. The presenter briefly referenced the TIF without any pro or con details regarding its significance or impact. During the early stages of the Bell Oaks project, concerned taxpayer queries about tax abatement were dismissed as unnecessary. Third, the most glaring omission in the Bricker and Eckler presentation was the failure to share forthrightly the fact that both school districts must agree to the establishment of an NCA before it can become reality. Given the contentious relationship between the council and the Richmond Heights schools, it is unlikely that resolution is imminent. Where the South Euclid Lyndhurst schools stand on these matters remains to be seen. Fourth, in an obvious attempt to promote a preference, the most workable size of the NCA Board of Trustees was presented as 7 individuals. That number was described by Bricker and Eckler as the NCA board size. They, not Deal Point, had worked with successfully since Deal Point Merrill has no experience implementing an NCA anywhere. According to ORC 349.04, an NCA Board of Trustees may be at least 3, but not more than 6 citizen members, and 1 member to serve as a representative of local government. Since the developer may appoint representatives equal to the number of citizen members, the NCA Board could potentially total 13. Fifth, council members' advocacy for the NCA during the hearing was practically non-existent, and questions posed by them were tentative and exploratory at best. Given the significance placed on the hearing before the fact, this opportunity to fully explore the pros and cons of the NCA in open forum was missed. Residents desiring guidance from city leaders to aid them in formulating personal opinions about the NCA, Bell Oaks, or both, were left without the benefit of council members' perspectives. Is council better prepared now to take definitive action than they were 2 weeks ago? Sixth, the disinterest in the May 12th hearing displayed by David Frank, Deal Point Merrill CEO, was not only surprising, but extremely disappointing. That his attention was focused on other matters during the hearing suggested that in the final analysis, creation of an NCA for Bell Oaks was not a priority after all. Mr. Frank's inattentiveness spoke volumes to a community that has been targeted for experimentation with non-traditional financing of a major development project. Among other things, it suggests that the urgency of council voting on the NCA no later than May 26th is not legitimate or an emergency, but a coercive tactic designed to force premature decision-making. In the final analysis, rather than a development featuring amenities with a universal appeal that will attract most, if not all, Richmond Heights residents, Bell Oaks is planned primarily as a densely populated apartment complex with a handful of take-it-or-leave-it retail establishments nearby. No sit-down restaurant, no hotel, no civic or community center. Because Deal Point Merrill does not own the entire mall property, even the real retail establishments proposed are not part of phase 1. Summarily, given the issues described above, 1, extensive due diligence to be fulfilled by council. 2, incomplete and misleading information about the NCA tax abatement and negative impacts on the schools presented to council and community during the May 12th hearing. 3, lack of council enthusiasm is exhibited during the hearing. And 4, the developer CEO's disinterest in the hearing. Council approved of the NCA on May 26 will not move the Bella Oaks project any closer to fruition. Until or unless these issues are clearly addressed and resolved, the Bella Oaks project cannot and should not proceed. Any action to approve establishment of an NCA without first attending to those concerns will not only demonstrate a willful and healthy disregard for matters of fact, but reflect poorly upon council leadership. And that was Patricia Ackerman's statement about the resolution 54. And that is all the statements that I have for this week.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we move on to old business.
Okay, under old business, we have resolution 41, 2020, introduced by Henry, third reading as revised May 26, 2020. A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement for financial and development consulting services for the proposed Bella Oaks development projects with Gateway Consultants Group Incorporated.
Council has agreed to go with Gateway to provide us the financial consulting and development consulting services. I entertain a motion for passage.
Move for suspension. Third.
Suspension is not necessary.
Right, because we're
third reading. Yeah. So, okay, so Alexander's moving for passage, and do I have here a second?
Second.
Alexander?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Lentine? Is Frank on there?
I'm
Frank?
sorry, my mic was off. My vote is yes.
Okay, Lewis?
Sorry.
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Ursu?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so resolution 41 passes. Ordinance 46, 2020, introduced by Nelson, third reading as revised 5/26/2020. An ordinance enacting new section 521.12 disinfectant measures required for business establishments with walk-in customers of the codified ordinances and declaring an emergency.
Do you want to expound on that, Nelson?
We discussed this in committee of the whole, and we decided that we wouldn't move it for passage, but I'll give a breakdown again. I don't know if we need to go through everything.
You don't need to go through a big breakdown.
Okay,
I think we're on third reading, so.
Okay, so I would recommend for passage then.
All right, thank you. Second.
Second.
Alexander?
No.
Henry?
Yes.
Lentine?
Yes.
Lewis?
No.
Nelson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Ursu?
Yes.
Ordinance 46, 2020 passes, 5 yeses and 2 nos. Thank you.
Resolution 50, 2020, introduced by Ursu, second reading. A resolution authorizing the Director of Finance to perform certain interfund transfers and declaring an emergency.
Yes, Madam President, as discussed a couple weeks ago, last week, and tonight, this is essentially a housekeeping piece of legislation. And I don't know if, Jim, you want to comment on anything further, but I would recommend passage.
Move for suspension.
Okay.
Second.
Alexander?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Lentine?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Ursu?
Yes.
Move for passage.
Passage.
Second the motion.
Alexander?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Lentine?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Ursu?
Yes.
Ordinance 50-2020 passes unanimously.
Under new business, we have ordinance 52-2020, introduced by Lentine, first reading. An ordinance establishing a special fund designated as school safety fund.
Madam President, this is a new piece of legislation for our finance department. It organizes monies that would be gotten through grants. The chief of police is with us tonight. I would like him to comment further, but it is the recommendation of myself, at least, to recommend to council for passage. Chief, can you comment just briefly?
Thank you, Councilman. This is reference school threat assessment training that two of our officers, including myself, have completed, and another one's on the way. And this was money that we're going to get through, the Ohio Attorney General, and it was a need per our finance department for a particular line for this, and it was at his request, and that was the nature of it. The training was important, and we got money for doing it, so it was a good thing.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Alexander,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Lentine,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Ursu.
Yes.
Move for passage.
Second.
Alexander,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Lentine,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Ursu.
Yes.
Ordinance 52-2020 passes unanimously.
Okay, ordinance 53, introduced by Mayor Roach, first reading. A resolution authorizing the mayor to execute on behalf of the city the renewal of the partnership agreement to a memorandum of understanding as a member of the Euclid Creek Watershed Council with the Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District.
I think we're going to recommend to hold this on the first reading, and we'll have some discussions in committee.
Yes, we are.
Okay, resolution 54-2020, introduced by Alexander, first reading. A resolution determining that the establishment of the Bell Oaks New Community Authority will be conducive to the public safety, convenience, and welfare, and is intended to result in the development of a new community, declaring the new community authority to be organized as a body, politic, and corporate, defining the boundary of the new community district, and declaring an emergency.
Mark, do you want to comment? Otherwise, we are going to hold this on this first reading.
That's fine. We're going to hold it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and the last one for tonight is Resolution 55-2020, introduced by Lentine, first reading. A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with All American Fire Equipment for the purchase of hydraulic rescue tools and airbag equipment for the Division of Fire.
Madam President, Councilman Lentine here. Just a brief comment. This is a grant that we are going to be receiving that would fund in its entirety these power tools for the fire department. There's no out-of-pocket cost to the city. With all that being said, I'm sure Chief Newman would like to add a few more words.
Thank you, Councilman Lentine. Just to add that this vendor was selected after a bid process for the purchase of these tools, and was selected for the best value for the funds we're expending.
I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules, Madam Chairman. Madam President, excuse me.
Yes.
Second.
Alexander,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Lentine,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Ursu.
Yes.
Move for passage.
Second.
Alexander,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Lentine,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Ursu.
Yes.
I think that's resolution 55-2020 passes unanimously. All right, is there anything else to come before council tonight? Good as not. This meeting is adjourned and have a good night.
Night.
Good night, all.
Good night.